Hello everyone. So today in this video we will do a small setup using Simatic DP coupler, this one. So we'll see how we can configure this module and how we can use this module for data transfer through profibus. So basically this is a profibus slave module. It's called a gateway. And it has sorry and you can connect two profibus cable to two ports, DP1 port and DP2, X1 DP and X2 DP. So basically this device is used to transfer data between two profibus master device. For example, you have two PLCs which are profibus master, and if you want to exchange some data between them, this module can be used as like a buffer for transferring the data. So we'll see how we can configure this device. So for this test setup, one end of this cable, that is X2 DP, which is connected to an ABB PLC, and this X1 DP which is connected to a Siemens PLC. So I have set you can set profibus address over here. So X1 DP I have set the address as 9, and for X2 DP I have the address as 8, which means ABB will be, when I configure this DP coupler for ABB PLC, I need to give address as 8, and when I configure for Siemens PLC, I need to configure it as 9. So let's start. Okay, so this is I have a 7400 PLC. So go to the hardware. So I made a basic hardware configuration for my PLC. Now all I have to do is I need to have a profibus network. So this is a profibus network. Okay, and here you need to add the DP coupler. So you'll find this DP coupler over here, additional field device, gateway, and you can find DP coupler release 3. I use this because I downloaded this GST for my ABB PLC. But when we are using Simatic Manager, this is inbuilt. I mean, it depends on the version, but for my Simatic Manager that I'm using, this was pre-installed. So all I have to do is, like, I have to just copy here, and I need to set the address. So as I said, for the Siemens side, I set this address as 9. So I'll give the address as 9. Okay, and I'll do this in the ABB side also. Like, I'm using AC800M PLC. For that, let's create a new project. Simatic DP coupler. Okay, so I need to so the PLC I have is PM866, and it has a IP address which is 192.168.81. Need to set this. Okay, now let me add this profibus master module. So in the hardware, CA854 is the profibus master. So so I'll add it here. Now I can insert it. C854, which is the profibus master, so I inserted here. Same like in Siemens we have a profibus master system. Similarly, I added a profibus master system here. Now I have to add the this one, the DP coupler, to the hardware structure. So for this, since this is a Siemens product, I have to install that GSD file of that Siemens product to ABB software. So to do that, inside the hardware, you need to create a new library. So let's call it Simatic DP. Okay. So I already downloaded the GSD file for this from Siemens website. So it looks like this. You get this one. This is the folder you get when you download the GSD file from Siemens. Okay. So let's install this. So this is the GSD. So you select the GSD file, this one. Okay, before that, for this DP coupler, you have several options, like what type of data you need to send. So as a common thing that we mostly use, I'm going to use 64 output, 64 words output and 64 words input. Means I can transfer 64 words from Siemens PLC to ABB PLC and vice versa. So I'll use this. Okay. So I'll be using 64 word input and 64 words output. Okay. So as you can see, this is all pre-configured here, but when I do this for ABB, I need to select. I am not going to select all. I am going to select the one that I require. So 64 words input and 64 words output. So 64 words output. Okay, let's click next. Okay, now here you have to define how you are going to read and write in which format. So I prefer to use double integer signed and apply conversion. So it creates 64 channels. So it is done for the input. Now I will do for the output same. Okay. So this is done. Now I have to add the device in the profibus master. So let's connect this the library that we created here. It's connected here. Now I have to add. So the address is 8 for the ABB side. Okay, so I select the address as 8. So now the device is added to my profibus master. So now it's thing to be careful is, like, as I said, I'm going to use 64 words input and 64 word output. So I can drag it here. This is 64 word input and 64 word output. Okay, so now the most important thing is, like, when you configure the device for data transfer, whatever you do in one PLC, the same need to be done in the other PLC. But You need to think like, for example, I have added 64 word input here, means I'm going to receive 64 words from ABB PLC to here, to the Siemens 64 word input. So the first thing that you need to configure here should be 64 word output. Okay, so when I write something here, I get the result here. Okay, similarly when I write something here, I need to get something here. So you need to add 64 input here. So this should be done. The data type should match, otherwise you will have an error in the debugger. You will find all this system fault, bus fault, everything glowing red. So this is the part to be careful when you do the initial programming. Okay, so now the hardware structure is done. Now we'll do a download. Okay, so let's save, compile. So cross check once again. If I have 64 word output here, I need to have 64 word input here. Okay, if I have a 64 word input here, I need to have 64 word output here. Or in another way, if I'm using 8 bytes input here, I need to have 8 bytes output here. So this is the way you should be configuring the data type for transfer. Okay, so now the initial things are done. Now let's do a download. So I'll do a download here also. Close this. Okay, I'll do a complete download. Okay, now the Siemens is downloaded. So I'll download this ABB as well. Okay, before doing that, I will create some variable over here so that we can see the values. Okay, so let's create some global variables. So we'll create some global variables here. So input word 1, input word 2, then out word 1, out word 2. So the data type is double integer. Okay, so we created some global variables here. Now let's add this variable to our hardware. So in the output, I use output word 1, output word 2, input okay. So this is done. Now let's do a download. So now you're online with the PLC, and you can see there is no error over here. Okay, so it's the same thing. I have the hardware. So let's go online with this module. So since I'm online with the PLC, I can see the values here and the input what I'm receiving. Okay, so in this example, let's go online first. Okay, I'm online right now. So 64 word input. So you can see the 64 input words here. So I can see what is the current value right now. So now if I send something from ABB PLC from here, let's force this variable, like I'll send 200. So you can see the value here. Wait, so I send 200. I'll send one more, like 100. Now let's see what we receive here. Okay, I get some value here, which this is in hex value. So when we used it in the program, you can see it in integer value. So this is the value that I receive here. So my input start address is 512. So let's close this. Let's write a small program to read the value. PAW 512. And transfer to a memory word 10. So low PAW 514, which is the second word, and transfer to 12. Okay. So if I change this to decimal, you can see the value that I'm sending. So I can send something like 1500. So I receive the same thing here. So now let's see the other one, like if you transfer something from here to ABB. So let's create a memory variable, like let's directly load some value. Let's say I'm going to transfer 800 to PQW 512. Transfer to PQW 512. Then I load 700 PQW 514. So now when I transfer some value from here, from Siemens to ABB, I should receive this in ABB here. So I received the same value over here. So this is how you transfer and receive the variable from Siemens to ABB and ABB to Siemens. The same way you can connect any PLC. In this example I used AC800M and S7400 PLC. You can even transfer between two S7 PLCs. You can transfer any two PLC that is having a profibus master system, and this device is useful for that. So I hope everybody understood how we can do the transfer. So again, thanks for watching this video. Have a good day.